Good morning. Thank you for keeping it Citizen Television Tuesday. It is a bit cold and chilly this morning. It's raining in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, but we are going to try and make it a bit warm for you right here on Social Tuesday. Here we learn, we laugh, we talk about serious issues, but still manage to get some fun out of it as we empower you to become better social beings. It is a different Tuesday, a different kind of Tuesday. They say charity begins at home. We cannot be talking about matters love, matters relating and becoming better people. Na nyumbani hatujui how to show love, how to express love, how to relate with our siblings, relate with our parents. We want to go back home this particular morning and talk about our siblings. Do you have a good relationship with your siblings? That's the question I would begin by asking you this morning. By good, that kind of a relationship that you feel you're satisfied with, that you feel like your siblings are coming through for you, they are building you, they are making you experience life on the good side of it. That's a question you should think about. But even if it is the other way around, we'd like to hear your experiences. Share with us your thoughts on 22422 as we talk about toxic sibling relationships on our show this particular morning. And I'm joined in studio by an amazing panel that usually keeps us company every Tuesday, two ladies and a gentleman. I hope you guys are warm. For me, I'm just trying to hang in there. So I'll be banking on you.
The studio is warm enough,
yeah,
but outside it's really cold.
I tell you.
Yeah.
But either way, we'll try and make it a bit warm, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah?
How you doing?
CJ, how are you doing?
Good. Yourself?
I'm cool. I'm doing well.
All right.
I can't complain.
Right. Good to see you.
Cutie, good to see you too.
I'm awesome. The cold is just another thing. I just wanted to stay in bed and tell you, Safi, leo nipigie tu simu, nikiwa kwa bed.
You wish, but you're here.
I wish, but I'm here and I'm glad to be here as
For the
always.
love of the people.
Yes,
you
of
see,
course,
you got her out of bed. You see that? Roberta?
I'm usually happy, but when I see you guys, it just ding, ding, ding.
On
ding,
another
ding.
level.
I'm just happy. Siski baridi. Nikiingia nilikuwa, lakini sasa nasikia vizuri.
All right.
Yeah.
Karibu sana to the show. And this, leo tuongelelei mapenzi ile ingine. Today we are talking about the sibling relationship, something that is often not really thought about. We never really discuss it. And when you're talking about toxic sibling relationship, I'd like to describe it as a dysfunctional family dynamic that has been given that back seat. Yet, if not addressed, you know, we end up producing a generation of hateful people, people who are so angry, people who have low self-esteem and the likes. But I'm not the expert. I'm just here to guide the conversation. And I'll start with you, Roberta, when you had the topic toxic sibling relationship. Did you even think that there is something like that?
Yeah. I mean, any sort of relationship can develop toxicity if kama hizo vitu fundamentals zenye karibu niseme fundamental. kama hizo vitu fundamentals zenye ziko needed ku build na ku enrich na kufanya relationship grow na inawiri. Kama haziko, obviously, any relationship can end up toxic. But something I realized about sibling relationships not working out mostly, you can always trace it back to the parents, like how the parents cultivated these relationships in the home. Because it has to start with unajua umezaliwa alafu unapata kuna msee mwingine hapo unaambiwa ni brother yako. So kama parents wako hawajawaonesha you guys can have a relationship, you guys are supposed to be friends, kama kuna vitu kama favoritism ama you know preference ya msee mwingine over mwingine, hizo vitu ndogo parents, I don't think they think we normally notice, but those things over time start to build resentment. And then now you guys don't even like each other, you don't talk to each other. Mommy likes you more than me, daddy likes you. And then people carry these things all the way into adulthood. They're grown-ups, they don't relate with their siblings because they really didn't have that space or environment to be able to talk to each other. So yeah, sibling relationships can also become toxic. It just depends. I feel like it stems from how your parents, the kind of environment your parents cultivated for you guys to grow up in.
All right. Yeah. Cutie, what do you think?
I really like what Roberta has said, because sometimes that is cultivated from how the parents treat the kids. Because at some point you will find that, sorry to say it, but parents sometimes they do the favorism kind of thing, the favorite child. They play the favorite child. You'll find maybe the last born. There's just something about last born. So I don't know what it is. I'm not a last born, I don't know. But there's just something, you know, you'll see a parent like, and I think the most affected siblings are the older ones, because they're the ones who had to be the deputy parents. They had to play a bigger role, you know. So it seems like these other younger ones, it's like they just came into a world and they were handed the world to their hands, you know, in the palm of their hands.
They get away with anything.
They get away with anything. But you'll find that the older siblings always have like resentment, because I did this for you. You know, I'm the one who took care of you. I'm the one who used to wash clothes for you. I'm the one who used to do this for you. So maybe they expect that in return. When now the younger ones, when they become older, now they expect the same from them. And sometimes it starts as a joke, Safin, but it's not really a joke. Because you're like, you know, you should respect me. I'm the older person in this house. I used to do this for you. I used to take care of you. And it starts like that, like that. And then also another thing that brings this rivalry with the siblings, it's when, let me bring in the financial aspect, the wealth aspect, because it's like some people are supposed to inherit some things, some people are not, they're not supposed to be, you know, like have access to some things, because maybe you're a girl, you know, in some cultures, in some communities, girls are not supposed to even speak, girls are not even supposed to access something. So you might find that the last born is a guy, but the last born is the person that is supposed to access more wealth than, you see, we have these things of wealth. Unasikia watu wamepigana, yani mabro na masis, wamepigana hadi wanataka sasa kuana just because of wealth, you see. So for me, I think it's about, first of all, how the parents, it's a culture from the parents. How do the parents treat each and every child? And sometimes you'll find that I'm closer to my last born brother because tumefuatana na yeye. Utapata maybe kuna ile gap because my siblings, my sisters are older than me, but probably we are tighter with my brother. We go everywhere with my bro. We watch football together. So kuna kuanga tu na hiyo kitu ya awa wako tight, but it's really up to you as a family to like put that thing together and just decide, okay, we are a family, we are blood, and we need to do this together.
Great. You know, when both of you were talking, you've already begun telling us, giving us snippets of where this could be coming from. And one thing that you both have said there, that parents actually have like a very big role to play in how the relationship, you know, between their children is going. You know, it could go bad, it could go the best way, but it depends on how they are brought up. And we'll get to more causes and more pointers on where this could be emanating from as we continue having this conversation. But CJ, let me just take you back to where this is starting. What draws the line between, you know, a relationship between siblings becoming toxic and the kawaida rivalry of, you know, the siblings of these little issues that we fight about? You got more candy, you know, you go to the best school, I want to sleep on the
fat mattress.
On the side of the wall. These small things we fight about. At what point does it get to a situation where now we describe this as, wait, this is toxic and something needs to be done?
You know, I do agree that there's a role that parents play, because when you are leading people, keeping them together is part of your responsibility. So you've got to keep on reminding them that we are one family, we are one house. And there are certain things that govern how we behave and how we relate. But again, when you look at the number of responsibilities that most of these parents have, sometimes they don't have enough time now to build culture at home because they're more concerned about bringing in the bread. So they spend most of their day out. By the time they come back in the evening, they are tired. They probably don't even have conversations with their children to get to know how the day has been. Probably the person who gets to know a lot more about his children is the person who stays with them at home, whether that is a relative or a house manager. And by the time the parents come, they feel tired. They actually just want to rest or find relief. In the cases where people have been blessed enough to have both parents, you may find it is the mother who is more involved. And the father will come in and he feels like, look, he's been working hard out there, so he's come in. He just needs to be served some hot food, have a hot shower, then he needs to go to bed. So again, the weight then becomes a bit too much for this person to be able to manage the things outside and keep the family running and manage the culture inside. So sometimes that's why you will have these things of the African mothers, you know, because there's not enough time and there's not emotional intelligence to probably nurture every child as an individual. And so she will just come up with blanket rules. If I find somebody doing this, I will kill you. It's a point of frustration. It's a point of frustration where she doesn't have time, she doesn't have energy, maybe she doesn't have support. And sometimes that also causes trouble between both parents. Like, I'm doing this by myself. Why don't you do it? Why don't you talk to the children? Why don't you talk to the boys? And the way men and women will look at situations around children is also very different. What a mother may feel is great concern. The father may feel, just let him be, he will grow out of it. So even at the point of the parents, sometimes there's no agreement on how they're supposed to raise the kids. And so when these children are growing up, they may not have that attention. And sometimes it is not because the parents did not want, though it is a responsibility upon them. And that means that somebody then has to be very intentional about watching over how the children are relating, not just with them, but among themselves, reminding them, this is your brother, this is your sister, this is what you do. You don't talk to your sister like that. You don't treat your brother like that. And you just grow that. But having said that, we've got to also recognize that there are personalities in all of this. No matter how well you manage the house, these are individuals with different personality types. You'll find somebody who is very dominant. So no matter how well you have talked to them, they'll still dominate. They'll always come in and nearly be the bully in the family. Then you'll find another one. They may be the first, they may be the middle, or even the last child. But then they've got a very passive personality. And so the dominant one will most probably take advantage of that. And no matter how much you check, you'll just find there's a way that somebody's taking advantage of the other. Then again, you cannot be there every day to keep on defending the one who looks like the weak, because you've got to build them up, because when they go out there, you won't be there. So these dynamics will always show up. The place where then you would say this is becoming toxic is when somebody no longer thinks about the welfare of the other person. And they do not think about how they are hurting or affecting the other person. When they begin to get into senses of entitlement, when Cutie talked about wealth, she talked about one aspect of it, which is inheritance. But then what happens when you are the sibling who makes money and all your siblings think that you need to support them and you need to bail them out? And so if you bought a shirt or a new phone and you did not help them, they get upset with you. Yet this is not your father's money. This is money you went out to make.
Hey, okay.
But they just feel because we are siblings, all my issues should be your issues. You shouldn't have a good life when I'm not having one. What about those cases where you'll get a sibling a job and they'll quit tomorrow because they know you will either get them another job or you will support them? So there's also that aspect that comes up where even if there's no inheritance, there's the abuse of privilege. There's the abuse of relationship. Just because we relate does not mean then that my life will stop for you and you will be irresponsible and you will expect me to keep on cleaning up your mess. You will make a mess everywhere that you go and then pull up the sibling card and expect me to clean it up. You'll get yourself into jail and wait for me to pay the bail, you know, all that kind of stuff. You get into trouble, you borrow money from all these Shylocks and then my name will come in. There's a lot of abuse there. So when it gets to the point where people are now taking advantage of the relationship that they have and they're becoming either irresponsible or careless or harmful, then it is toxic.
Yeah, true. And, you know, what you're talking about, what you're describing, actually realities that people are living out there. Some that have had to go to the extent of even cutting off their families because of just the baggage that comes with trying to pull this person up over the years, and the sense of entitlement that person has, that, you know, you cannot have a good life if I don't have one. And they are not doing anything to have a good life. So you end up just tagging them along as you continue. But then, Roberta, coming to you, what would you describe as an enriching sibling relationship? And if you like, you can borrow from your own, the way you were brought up. What are some of the you know, values that you said were instilled in you when you were growing up that you thought probably worked and are guiding your sibling relationship today, that is making it work, or otherwise? I don't know if you want to go that direction.
I hope my brother is not watching. I'll call him out. But you see, hata hizi vitu zote zenye tumesema zikisha come into play, your personality, influence from how your parents treated you guys, how it now affects your relationship. Something that I have to insist on is, when you become an adult, it is your responsibility to learn and grow out of such things. It is your responsibility to now say, enyewe mami alikuwa anafanya hivi, but mi na like sister angu. Ama mi nataka kukuwa na better relationship na sister angu. And I say this because growing up, I used to, as a firstborn, I have a younger brother. I used to feel like he was favored a lot. Like, yeye alikuwa anaitisha vitu anapewa, mi nilikuwa naitisha. And over time, you start to feel like, you know, you can see the difference. I don't know if parents don't notice these things. Ama they just, I don't know
defend parents?
I don't know how it works. But like, it reached a point now, me and my brother, we became really, really close. And we became best friends. Hatuwezi endelea na hiyo resentment ya vitu zilifanyika tukiwa class 6, ya kiwa class 3.
You have to grow out of some things as you... Yeah.
As in, of course, he was the baby in the house. You know, I don't know. So as you grow up, you get better understanding. You start understanding things better. You start being able even to hold grace for your parents. You start understanding them better. You realize even them, they're on earth for the first time. This is the first time they're having 2 kids. This is the first time they have a firstborn and a lastborn. This is the first time they're having to buy things for, you know, all these things. It's their first experience. So as I grew older, I started holding more grace for my parents. I started understanding them better. And this made me want to grow out of victimhood and hizo blame games, hizo ulifanyiwa mimi sikufanyiwa. It's null and void. It stops mattering when you become an adult. And I say this because I always mention that relationships require a lot of effort. Any sort of relationship, your relationship with your mom, even your relationship with the guard at your gate. Lazima msmailiane a certain way ndo ajue atakuwa anachunga gari yako extra. Ama unampea kaso mbili ndo akwe na make sure tires zako hazitaibiwa. You know, it's just how you build relationships. There has to be effort, intentionality. You guys have to actually want to be friends. And now me and my brother are best friends. Those are things that don't come up. I don't even remember such things that is nini lifanyika. And I say that because now coming back to my main point, relationships take a lot of effort. It doesn't matter what kind of relationships. And the thing with family is, I think people don't ever think any action is required because see, we live in the same house. Yeah. We grew up together. That's okay. That's enough. See, hivyo kuna watu wanaishi pamoja na waongeleshanangi. When we grow up in the same house, they don't talk to each other anymore. Siblings, ata twins maybe, and they are not friends.
And they could even be sharing the same bed.
Everything,
not
sharing
talking.
Everything, even. And they're not friends. That shows you that relationships are not automatic. Like, just because we're in the same environment doesn't mean that we're going to be close. It's just going to work out. Even your relationship with your mom, just because she gave birth to you doesn't mean that you guys are automatic friends. You have to care. You have to like her. You have to want her in your space. You have to love her. You have to want to take care of her. And it goes both ways. It has to be reciprocal so that you also feel like you're being nourished in this relationship. So I say, make sure that you're mnajazana kwa relationships zenu, even within the family. Do not assume that just because you guys are in the same environment, it's automatic for you guys to like each other. But I say family is really, really important. And if you can cultivate such an environment within the home, imagine how you'll show up for your friends. Imagine how you'll show up outside the house. If that sibling that you don't like, that you always felt alikuwa anakuwa favored over you, imagine if you can patch things up with them, the kind of emotional intelligence you'll be able to master even with your other relationships. So please take relationships, all sorts of relationships that you need to work out in your life, please take them seriously and understand that effort is required, action is required, even with your siblings. You have to want it. You have to like each other. And I've throughout this show, actually, I've mended so many relationships with my family, even with my parents, even with my siblings. Nikianza, CJ can tell you guys, I had so much beef with everyone. I was always the antagonist. No. If they hurt me, they can leave me alone. So seeing myself cross over from the point of, no, that can't work, to now where I'm able, because I've actioned. Hizi vitu zote mi usema ni juu nimetry, nimefanya, nimepractice, na saizi na work out. So if I can do it, anyone can.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right, I want to hear more from you, QT. You know, one thing I say, if you cannot win the love of your brother or your sister, you cannot cultivate a beautiful relationship with your siblings, what tells you that you can with a stranger? Mtu mmekutana leo, you know? Charity begins at home. But then, what is it that you feel would be important to do? What are these tips and factors that you think would build a healthy sibling relationship in the home environment?
You know, they say you have to dance ayad before you dance abroad. Like lazima, charity begins at home.
I like that.
In reggae, we like saying that. So it's like you have to start from home. But I like what CJ said.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the personality. Like, for example, you're like 6 siblings, 10 siblings. Every sibling will have their own personality. Kuna ule mwenye ako huko juu, kiburi, you can't tell them. I see what you're doing there. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised ukikuja kwetu. Utapata mimi ndo nimenyamaza, nimetulia. But I just think people are different. Unajua, sisi wote, yes, tumegrow at the same house, same parents. But I'm telling you, Safin, kila mtu akitoka out there in the world, you'd be surprised, watu kweli, have they grown in the same house? You know, you always get that, hey, watu kweli wamegrow at the same house. Ni the same parents wali bring up us. So sometimes ni personality ya mtu. And there are those people that are so bitter sometimes and they refuse to change. Anasema hapana. Unaona vile Bobby amepeana example po akasema yeye alikuanga ule msewa hapana mimi sitaki na sitaki. But right now she's talking about the love she has for her brother and how she has amended those relationships. So it's totally up to you. If I approach you, Safin, kat kona beef. If I approach you and I see that you're unapproachable, umeka umesema, I can't handle you. Like I'm cutting you off. You know, sometimes in a point, even you have to take a step back. Because if you're trying to amend these relationships with someone who is your sibling and mezaliwa na mama moja, you know, and sometimes it's really hard, Safin, because when you're trying to amend these relationships and someone is just like, by the they just put a wall up. Imagine pia itafika point you're just like,
just
you know
let
what?
Them be.
You take responsibility for your life. Every decision has a consequence. Every decision that you make in this life, imagine it has a consequence. And if you refuse to heal, if you need to go for therapy, imagine just go for therapy. Like, uwezi kana childhood trauma useme, bede mi niligrow hivo, mi nakuanga hivo. You cannot say nakuanga hivo. History ya kusema mi nakuanga hivo na siezi change, then it means you're the one with the problem. Go for therapy. You need to heal. Maze childhood trauma inatusumbua huku nje, Safin. Most of us tunapata, you're going through something, but by the time we realize, unakam kusema, maybe it's because of what I went through when I was a child. Maybe I'm not, you know, I'm like this because of why, but venye Bobby amesema, it's up to you. When you're adult, uko na ID, uko over 18, unaishi peke yako, you're paying your bills, you're doing everything for yourself, you're running a household, probably maybe uko na husband, uko na watoi. wewe ni mtu mkubwa. So if you decide that I'm going to hold on to this bitterness forever, then imagine that is your fault and it's your decision. So I just say, if you have this sibling rivalry and they don't want to get over it, they don't want to nini, imagine pia you need to take a step back, because as CJ said, you can't be the one to always be taking the fall for this person. Umse may decide, mimi nitakuwa kichwa ngumu, so mimi ndo nitakuwa nafanya hivi. I'll be doing this because I know QT will sort me out. Anapigia tu QT ni aje maze, nitumie 5k, nitumie 10k, nifanyie hivi. Akikuja kwangu anajua I got this. At the end of the day, Safin mtu uchoka. Whether you're family or not. Maze, tutashindaga hivyo. Nimeshikwa daily, nimeshikwa kesho, nimeshikwa, niko ndani, nimefanya, you're in trouble all the time. You know, even if you're my sibling, hata kama tumezaliwa na mama mmoja, inafikaga point tunasema, by the way, nimeinua mkono. Mahali imefika sasa pia wewe jisort. I'm actually mtu mkubwa.
Yeah, I want to hear. Is it okay, CJ, to...
Itabidi umecut off.
Is it okay to really, like, get to that point, and is it okay to cut off? Does it get to a point where you really need to do that as a solution?
It does, because if this thing is going to break you down emotionally and mentally, then it is not good for anybody else. You see, you've got to be alive to even be able to help the other person.
Yeah.
You've got to be thriving, you've got to have peace. You can't give what you don't have. Yeah. So if this thing is threatening your life literally, and it's going to run you crazy, and you'll get into depression, or you're going to go into mental breakdown or meltdowns, then you have to have self-preservation. You must be here first. And especially in a case where you're not dealing with a dependent. This is not a child. This is not somebody that if you abandon them, they have no options. You're talking about an adult who has made conscious decisions to behave in a certain manner because they know they have a backup. If they didn't have the backup, they probably would make different decisions as well. There was a case at one point I was talking to somebody who kept on feeling like they needed to be there for their siblings. And I say, you know what, the day you're not here, you'll realize that these people are able to survive. And unfortunately, that year, somehow, this person passes on, and that's a lot of years, and these people still live. So you will be literally sacrificing your life. And yet, if you're not there, a parasite will always find the next host. So you cannot be the host that is trying to turn a parasite into something that is productive.
Wow.
They'll move. I mean, you stop talking to them, they will find QT. QT cuts them off, they will find Roberta, because that is just their nature. So you cannot even over-exaggerate your position in their life. It is their need that ties them to you. And sometimes we don't get this, so we begin feeling like they really need me. And that also speaks about our own insecurities.
Oh, yeah.
The need to be needed. Some people also thrive on that. We like it when people are dysfunctional and they are broken, and so they totally depend on us, and we feel like they really need us. And so they become manipulative as well. So they know that if they say something, if they call, if it is midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., QT will rush out of the house, because this is what gives her a sense of purpose as well. So you find these insecurities here, this manipulation over here, that's already a very toxic relationship. They can't do without each other, yet the truth is they actually don't need each other. They don't need each other. They're bad for each other. Because with QT...
Can you be bad for your sibling? I mean, I'm learning so much this morning.
They're bad for each other. Because this one that always shows up makes the other one never grow. And then this one that never grows makes this one never realize that they also need to deal with the need to be needed. That they should be able to live a life without anybody needing them at any point, and then finding a greater purpose for them to live. So we have all of these things that just keep on coming. And they start when people are young, when they're kids.
You can actually see them as they...
You'll see that. You see, anywhere that there are 2 or 3 human beings, there will be politics and economics. You see, politics is the distribution of power. Economics is the distribution of resources. And it is the economics, the distribution of resources, that raises the politics. Who got the mattress, who got the bed, who got the crust, who got this. So all of this politics, how we manipulate each other, depends on the resources. So where resources are competed for a lot, you'll find a lot and a lot and a lot of politics in there. And people pulling some siblings on their side, against the other one. There'll be a lot of that. You'll find that with kids playing outside. They're playing one football, and you'll see the one who owns the ball controls everybody over there. So there's always this thing about resources and power. And that is the bedrock for most of us. Most of our abuse has to do with, and even with parents. Sometimes then, when people say a parent favors a child, if this child is number 7 out of 12, but this child is the only one who pays the bills for the parents, there will be a sense of communication. Now, Safin, let's be honest.
Yeah. I don't know whether I want you to go there, but...
Let's be honest.
Okay, let's be honest.
Let's be absolutely honest.
Yeah.
So this parent is here. They're sick. They've retired. They have a lot of issues going on. They've got 12 kids. The first 3 of them are part of the problem in the home. They get drunk the whole time. They're always coming to pick stuff. This one is stealing. The other one is always being arrested. Then the kid number 7 is one who comes home, tries to put in order, build a fence, try to feed the cows, try to make sure there's a cattle dip somewhere, make sure there's water, make sure there's light. No, seriously. You want to tell me that this parent will feel like, no, let me not talk to this child a lot, because the others will feel that there is a sense of favoritism. Sometimes it is not favor. Sometimes it is purpose. You go where the energy is good. You go where the energy is good. As long as this parent has not abandoned the other kids. In fact, sometimes, what siblings will not know, it is the parent who actually makes this other sibling to take care of you guys. Because they will keep on reminding them, your brother is like this, your brother is like this. If they were to deal directly, sibling to sibling, they would be cut off. And so whereas they may blame the parent and they say, you know, Mom, you only talk to QT, they will not even know that she's the mediator that comes in and says, well, your brother's kid has not gone to school. If you find something, you do this. I think there's a lot that is expected of parents as well. I need to go back to something that Bobby said, you know, when you're the firstborn, the second, the lastborn, parents also grow in knowledge as they go, and they grow in resources. So maybe at the point the firstborn is coming in, there's no money to buy some stuff. They'll say, no. By the time the fifthborn is coming, they've grown up. And also in knowledge, because with the first child, they probably have a lot of fears. They've never been a parent before. By the time you have the second and the third, you know, that's a common cold. This one will come out of this. Well, kids will play and get out. But the first one, there's a lot of fear as well. So they also grow. But yes, it can get to a point where a sibling needs to cut off because they will lose themselves.
Wow. And a lot of grace is needed, especially when you're a firstborn in African families. Respect. Kwanza unazaliwa ile time familia ndio inaanza, watu wanalala kwa mattress, there is nothing, parents are still struggling, so maisha kidogo, If you're lucky to be born in a rich family, that's good for you. But kama maisha ndio inaanza, then later in life, wazazi wameretire, so you become the deputy parent automatically. Suddenly.
Sorry, Sophie. Can I flip a bit? Then Bobby takes it. So there's a part, QT, we talk about the siblings that don't have anything, so they fight the sibling that has. There's the flip side of it, that you could be the sibling that has, and then you really never want to see your siblings grow. Because you're used to them depending on you. So the moment they begin to grow, you feel like you need to fight them because you're going to lose this dominance that you had. So there are people also, they are the ones who have resources, but they want to make sure their siblings.
Nobody else in the family has. We have those, you know, you would find that even taking somebody to school to support your relative's child is a bit difficult for you because you feel, you know, what a succeed, wawashinde. You know, you're used to power. And like today, you've just opened my mind to so many things. But then QT, we were talking about how to make this relationship work. And something you mentioned there earlier when you were talking was the fact that sometimes you realize that in such kind of a relationship, there is some sense of entitlement, certain rules that I don't know who wrote in our African culture that you'd find that some kids feel like they're entitled over certain things as compared to others. What do you think parents can do to sort of like create that equilibrium and to set new rules if they have to, so that everyone at home feels like they have the same kind of entitlement, because they all belong to the same parents.
Yeah, and I'll just give an example. When my brother and I, tumechana na mwaka moja, when we were growing up, we used to fight a lot. You know, that one of physically fighting, you're like, no, mi natakai, natakai. So my mom one day approached me and told me, you know, you're the older one. Unajua ni mtoto. Yani, my mom aliniweza. Aliniambia unajua wewe ndio mtu mzima hapa, huyu ni mtoto. Can you just stop fighting all the time? Mtashindaga mkifight, mnapiga. Yani tulikuwa tu, you know, ni easy tu ufala za kugrow up. So since my mom told me that, imagine I just stopped fighting with my bro. I just let him be. Because he's the last born. Yeye ndio mtoto. So mbona nashinda nikibishana na yeye na mimi ndio mtu mzima. I know, but
how old is this?
no, back then. Hiyo ilikuwa back then. So,
our small brother
no, but tulikuwa, naweza sema tulikuwa primary, tulikuwa tu tuna grow up, maybe class 3, 4, 5, but I remember we used to fight a lot. Ile tu tunangangania vitu kwa nyumba nini. So maybe mimi nilikuwa na feel vile Bobby amesema una feel tu mtu nikana kwa favored mother akaniambia cheki wewe ndio mtu mzima. So I think ilinisaidia nika grow up. I don't know, but I just took a sit back and I said, you know what, wewe ndio mtoto, endelea kukua mtoi, wacha mimi nikuwe adult in this case. But the question that you've asked, going back to that, I think it's also up to the parents to just be firm and say, by the way, hapa hakuna mtu special, you're all the same level. Hapa hakuna mtu special. And if as a parent you can be able to, kulikuwa gana ile kitu ya ukibaia huyu gari lazima ubaia huyu gari. Ukibaia huyu switi wezi enda na switi moja home safini. Uko na watoto 5. Wezi enda na switi moja useme juu ndio mdogo ndio last born. Sasa yeye apatiwe. So you really need to level it up as a parent. Personally, that's what I think. Like, just try to level up your kids and just talk to them. It's important to have the family meetings. Nimekam realize we never have the family meetings. We just come, we are all busy. We are busy, tuna hustle sisi wote, tunakuja, tunaonana na maybe time ya Christmas, tunakuja, tunamaliza Christmas, we all go, you know, but it's really important to sit down with your kids, just to find out the relationships that are there, and even you as siblings. What relationship do you have with your brother? What relationship do you have with your sister? Do you just call them up when you really need something from them, or do you just check up on them? Like unaenda una check up on them, unamwambia by the way, leo nimedecide tu nataka kukama, nikaitue na wewe, tujuane uko aje, unaendeleaje. You know, it's up to you to create that relationship with your sibling. But I'll have to agree with CJ on this. If sometimes family can really drain you emotionally, physically, financially, manze una feel hawezi breathe. You know, there's a point you reach, you're just like, I'm suffocated. Siezi deal, by the way. Na ikifika hiyo point, imagine itabidi ume cut off. It doesn't matter whether ni bloodline or what. Sometimes our wase ndio watakuwa ukiwa alive. Have you ever had that comment of unaweza kufa ukiwa alive? Yani you're alive, but when you're walking dead juu, manze hawa wase wamekumaliza kabisa, una feel uko drained. It could be in any form. Inaweza kuwa ni emotionally, financially, physically. Una get, like you get any form of abuse from your family, but una decide, mimi nitaka hapa, unajua tu huyu ni brother yangu, huyu ni sister yangu, huyu ni mama yangu, huyu ni baba yangu, but are you really okay? Utadedi manze ukisema ati una take care of family, you're cutting yourself into pieces. Yani wameukatakata into pieces. Wewe mwenyewe hata you need to take care of yourself, as CJ has said, to be able to take care of other people. So manze kifika hiyo point ya kucut off, itabidi ume cut off. Me I stand with that, by the way.
I wish tusifike hapo, Robert.
Tusifike hapo, but ikibidi itabidi ume cut off. Juu utadedi manze, utadedi ukiwa alive.
Kuna watu wana lefting hadi WhatsApp group za familia. Unaenda wapi? Unaenda wapi? Rudi hapa tuongee.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And I wanted to say, in every relationships, hizo vitu musema za boundaries na standards lazima zi-apply.
Hata za familia.
Lazima. Haimata. Because hiyo kitu CJ alikuwa na describe, funny, I was reading about it yesterday. It's people pleasing. Like you want to be needed. It's toxic. It's not normal. Iyo feeling, and it comes from wanting to dominate. You just want to be wendo bigi, wendo kusema. Wendio, kuna ile yenye ni genuine yenye unasaidia juu. Haukea kama wendo unaongeanga ama. But naturally when you have the money, wendo unaambiwa, Roberta simama uongee. Roberta utuombe, simama utuombe.
Ama tuna plan kitu wendo unaambiwa.
Fanta wengine wakiambiwa kunywe crest. Hivyo ndio inakuanga. Lakini kuna wale wase wenye uko na hiyo need. ya kukua needed, kukua dominant, au ndo anatakanga kuonekana, au ndo wabigi kwa family. And that's also an issue because it's people pleasing and it's a self-esteem issue. It's an insecurity issue. And these people, you see these things, I always say how you do one thing is how you do everything. Haishi hapo kwa siblings. Mse akitoka aende kwa relationship ingine ama aende ku have friends. They'll bring these tendencies around with them. They'll show up in the same ways where they'll also not make friends with people who are better than them because they have self-esteem issues. They always want to be the bigger person in the room. Then they're not going to be able to learn from others easily because they're so used to being correct. Ni hao watu Cutie amesema wanasemanga mi kwa hivi. Hawataki watu wengine wa advance kualiko because they want to leverage the power. They just want to be bigger than everyone. So if hizi vitu zote tuna describe unaona kama zina ding ding ding, just sit back, do some introspection, ask yourself, why is it that I'm always at this guy that you can call? I bail him out all the time. I'm always there. I do everything. I'm always... What is it that I'm unable to hold boundaries? And it's not about whether you have the money to bail them out or what. It's not about the money or the tunakwambia don't show up. It's just about how are your boundaries set up. Are you able to stand up for yourself and say, yo, I don't have a problem bailing you out. I don't have a problem when you need something from me. But can we please, these are my boundaries. Mimi nitakubail out leo, lakini ikihappen kesho na kesho kutwa tena, there's something wrong. Maybe we need to have a discussion. And the other person also has to be willing to meet you halfway. Because kuna wase, anyway akona mashida, maybe ana go through mental issues, ama tu venye ame grow up, akona matrauma. Uweze elewa, you know, you're in the same family, but you guys grow up totally different. Yeah. So they also have to be willing to listen, to grow, to do better. Juu, iyo yenye Cutie anasema ni ya kucut off, inafikanga hiyo point yenye you have really tried. You can't anymore. You cannot give from nothing. You can't keep talking about the same thing for years and years and years. And it's a bit harder in relationships because this is blood. You know, how do you give up on someone that...
how do you break up with your sibling?
How do you break up with your sister, you know? But it's just about self-preservation. It's about boundaries. It's about when you're someone who's content and you're very secure within yourself, you'll be able to see through those lines for sibling, friend, mother, cousin. You'll be able to tell, I love you so much, Safin, but I can't do this anymore. You have to be willing to tell me, how do you need me to show up now? Because what do you need? Do you need me to talk to you? Do you need therapy? Do you need me? Because siezi shinda nikikubail, iyo dosi ni tufanye something else. Like, iende, ni kuanzishe business, ni kufanye nini? Like, how can I help you? You need to help me help you. You need to be open. You need to be able to talk to me, tell me. Because I don't like it when people give up easily, but I say giving up sometimes, it's good. Sometimes it's good to just walk away from things that are no longer serving you, they're not helping you, they're draining you. Even if it's family, please just withhold your standards and boundaries, because how you show up is how people will treat you. Na huyo mse mwenye sija alikuwa na describe huo people pleaser, it reaches a point they also start getting tired, and then it builds resentment. Especially when it's not reciprocated. Sasa ndo maana kwa arguments vitu kaizo come up. Wewe nakufanyanga shopping, na unalipianga bibi yako sijui nini, nimekulipia rent, nimekufanyia nini, na nakwambia unilipia tu unakataa. For real.
I know.
For real, unaona ina build.
Acha kusema ukweli sana.
An example ziko too close.
True.
Yeah, it starts building resentment. That's why everyone has to work on their own emotional security. So that even when you're helping, it doesn't come up as wesi nilikubaia, nilikufanyia, nilikupeleka shule,
mimi ndio nafanya hii.
Chunga venye unanilesha, mimi ndio nilikubaia hizo nguo umevaa. Haifai kufika hapo. If you're a giver, you give. It should never come up as something you'll use against them. And if you're a taker, please have the courtesy to understand that giving, aitokangi anywhere. Not everyone is like that. Even your mom can give up on you. Even your sister can leave you alone for good. So please balance. Be a kind taker. Be a kind giver. Let's love each other. Let's care about each other. And let's withhold our boundaries. Because once you start saying, you put your foot down, you say, I'll do this for you, but please understand I'm also a human being with emotions. I also have feelings. Even me, I want to be cared for. I want to be listened.
Yeah.
Just because I'm able to show up for you in this way doesn't mean that I don't have like a care. It's like mimi ni robot. Pia mimi nataka respect. Inaweza kwa mimi ndo niko na do, lakini wewe maybe unanijenga in another way. Maybe you're my brother who listens to me. I would love for us to have that relationship going on where you don't have to be buying things for me, but can I come to you and talk to you? Can you listen to me? When I need you in 1, 2, 3, can you show up? Are you reliable? Because if I'm just giving and you're still kila saa unaendelea kushikwa, kwani tutakubela dilini?
Good question. All right. Wonderful pointers there. As we wind this conversation up, CJ, let's talk about one final thing. The issue to do with achievements. Unapatanga kwa kila home kuna ule mwenye wanasemanga alipata nyota yake. You know, there's usually that resentment that is built towards that person, or even, you know, parents failing to pay attention to the achievements of these other children. Na unapata hiyo kitu ina grow. Mtu ana grow anaanza sasa kufanya vitu approve a point kwa world, because maybe they lack that in the home environment. As we close this, how can we go about that as well?
Again, I'll say the balancing for parenting is not very easy. Because most of these parents were never even prepared for those kind of things. You see, this is leadership, this is management, this is coaching, and you have 5 kids, and then one of them is doing well. You feel like this is the one that is representing your family out there, so you keep on talking about them a lot. Maybe not because you want to put down the other kids, but you want to prove a point to the neighbors and to the other people that this is our flag bearer. You know, this is, you remember the days of this gentleman with Nothing is Impossible, you know, when he was breaking the record. So everybody's a Kenyan. It's only when we get into politics then we get into tribes. So sometimes parents do that without knowing, that they just are proud that something out of their loins has become that big. And while they are doing that, and while they're focusing on this star child, they forget that they're not paying attention to the others. It happens even in classrooms, where teachers who are trained professionally will focus on a child who is a good performer. So it's something that generally just shows up, you know, that people like to identify with things that are doing well, because by extension, they think that they are doing well. So if my child is doing well, I want you to know that that's my child, that's my DNA. It's over there. So don't look at me the way you are. I remember one of my brothers, he passed on years ago. My brother was so much into alcohol. So there's this time that I went to visit him in Kayole, and so he brings out his friends. My brother was always drunk as well, so he brings out his friends, and he says, "You people think I'm a fool." You see, that's my brother. You guys think I'm a fool. So what he's saying is, no matter how much I'm settled, I'm not drinking from nowhere. So we like to win by association. Sometimes then we don't realize that there are other people whose efforts may be quite great as well, but then we do not notice that. So the conversations that we've got to have, if you have a high performer, always remind them that this is just God's grace over their life, that they're not supposed to look down on anybody, not just their siblings, anybody, anywhere in life, just have grace for them. And if you're not the great performer, then we have to look at the other things that you do well as well. We have to find there are things in you. You'll find that that one is good in academics. This one is very good in socializing with people. You throw them into an environment where there are people, they will get everybody's name. They will tell you what everybody does. They will mingle and mix up with people. If you get stuck in a forest, this one will bail you out. The other one may not, if his laptop is not working. So everybody has what they bring to the table. And we've got to keep on emphasizing that everybody has what they bring to the table. Which brings me also to, you know, I was thinking about this, but Roberta brought it up already, that this relationship, the symbiosis around it is that we don't all have to bring, for example, money. But how do we build each other up?
Yeah.
So if you're relying on QT, she's taking care of your bills, she's doing all of these things, how do you show up for her? If she's helping you with your kids' school fees, why don't your kids then during the holidays go and help her with work? Because if she keeps growing in resources, you also keep growing in this. Instead of only staying back and you only talk when you have need. How do we bring in value into this? Like, I'll support you in one way or the other, whether it is emotionally, whether it's just being present. If this person is going elsewhere and they have kids left in the house, why don't I show up and say, don't worry, I'll take care of the kids. I'll be there for you. So that nobody looks at themselves as having nothing to give. We all feel we bring something different into the family.
True, well said. At CJ Atemo, at QT Ledin Josh, at Roberta Bobby, at Safin_Acheng. That's where you find us on social media. Interact with us. And as we wind this up, hats off to my parents. We have a very big family. And I was here asking myself, I still don't know who your favorite child is because you have not...
It's probably you.
I don't know. I don't
know
see
who
that.
it is.
Yeah, I don't see that. So for me, I don't know how they've managed to pull that off, but hats off. I have a lot to learn from them. All of us feel like we are the favorite and all of us have different values. Tuko na spiritual rock, tuko na ule wa kuleta sherehe in the room, we have the talker in the family and everybody feels important. And for me, that's really valuable. Hey, wazazi. Thank you so much. And that's how we wind up this show. We really appreciate your company. We hope that you're going to do something to improve your relationship with your siblings. When was the last time you had a family gathering na mkakuwa na furaha, mkamaliza bila watu kurushiana vikombe? When was the last time? Please bring that back. My name is Safina Chengoma. Have a lovely day ahead.